Okay, so Ladies of London. If you know, you know, but if you don't, this was Bravo's fabulously chaotic answer to What If Housewives, but posh and British, except everyone's American ? It ran 3 seasons, ended in 2017, and then it just vanished. No reunion, no goodbye tour, just bye. And now, almost a decade later, it's back, sort of. They did 1 more season, then I didn't renew for another. Rebranded as The New Reign, and I just finished the whole thing, plus I went back and watched the original for context. So today we're walking through that season, the way it actually unfolded while I do my makeup. Very original, I know. I need something to do with my hands, because like even this is agony. By the way, my name is Kayla. You may or may not have heard of me, and if you have, we met under celestial circumstances because no one has heard of me. This is the wiggiest wig I've ever wigged. Let's get into it. Hi, editing me, jump scare, I know. So in the next part of this video, I kind of set it up as if I'm about to give a synopsis of all 3 seasons of Ladies of London. Spoiler, I don't do that. I gloss over it barely. Basically, I end up only listing a few of the characters from the OG Ladies of London. It is by no means definitive. There's a lot of people I didn't mention. And I probably did that because it gets kind of complicated in the next few seasons because they switch people out a lot, so I didn't want to get into it. But if you do want me to go into detail about the OG Ladies of London, let me know. I'd be happy to make a video just about those 3 seasons. Okay, back to the video. Okay, I need my foundation. Some Wet n Wild. Before we talk about the new cast, we have to talk about what made the original show tick, because low-key, The New Reign feels like a parallel universe compared to the OG seasons. The original ladies were almost evenly split down a fault line. British old money versus American new arrivals, and the show got a lot of comedy out of that clash, let me tell you. Oh, this is really hard not to get foundation on my wig. Do I have a clip? I need a clip. No, we're just gonna be beautiful and hot through this with long flowing hair that will get makeup in it. That's okay. So you had Caroline Stanbury, who was like the royal of the group, but she wasn't, she was just really rich. And Caroline would be dropping lines so sharp and cutting that my ears go ouch. And then you had the Americans. Marissa, who married into British nightlife royalty via her husband's clubs. He owns like Bougie, which apparently has like a secret entrance for royals, so that's fun. I wanna own clubs with secret passages. And then you had like Juliet, who was low-key a mix of Lorelai Gilmore and Susan from Desperate Housewives. And then you have Noelle, who I guess now husband, I don't know if they're still married, but fiance at the time, was mid-collapse in one of the biggest divorce scandals in British legal history. I'm spending way too much time on my foundation, dude. The tension was not subtle in this show. At one point, Caroline straight up talks about how like British people are kind of stuck up. Like she says it herself and she's British, but meanwhile, Americans make great, like, she doesn't say the term trad wife because it wasn't coined yet, because remind you, this is like the 20-teens. But like she basically says Americans make great trad wives, which I'm like, right you are, Caroline, right you are. It's a breeding ground here. As you can tell, I'm a very traditional person. Interestingly though, Caprice was the interesting outlier. Like she was American by birth, but she'd been in London so long and assimilated so completely that even Caroline admitted she'd basically become British. That culture clash is basically gone by the time we get to The New Reign. Like almost the whole lineup is American. You've got Kimmy, Micah, Dara, Margot, almost dropped my sponge. That would have been bad. But instead of standing out as outsiders, they're already kind of folded into society. So here's a quick rundown of who we're dealing with. So first you have Kimmy Murdoch. Kimmy is like so assimilated into British culture that she kind of, like, I think she's more British than Caprice was in the original one, and Caprice was like very acknowledged as like someone who assimilated into British society. But like, first of all, I think Kimmy's been in England longer than Caprice was at that. Like Caprice had been in England for 16 years. Kimmy at this point in the show has been in the UK for 25. And things we know about Kimmy later on, she went to culinary school. She's also fluent in Haitian Creole because she grew up in Haiti, which I thought was really interesting. And let me tell you, Kimmy is incapable of having an inside thought. Then we have Micah. She is also American, and she is an actual etiquette coach, which I thought was a bit, until I realized she's actually just trying to like teach people to be kind to each other and like considerate. And I'm like, that's nice. It's nice to teach people to be nice to others. That's cool. Then we have Dara, who is an American architect and Micah's best friend for like 2 episodes. We'll get to that. Then there's Mark, or Mark Francis if you're nasty. And he's an antiques dealer who makes my inner theater kid so happy. Like, he just embodies Oscar Wilde, and I love that for him. Like, what a treasure of a human being. And then we got Martha. Keep your eye on Martha. My chair is so noisy. I'm sorry, I need to switch. I won't stand for this. Forgive me. Oh, this is so much better. Oh my God, okay. So yeah, if Caroline Stanbury was like the gravitational center of the original series, Martha is like the emotional center of this one. I don't know if it's that I just relate to Martha so much because I understand the need for everyone to get along and be happy. And like Martha in this group, you can tell she's like truly the glue that keeps everyone together. Martha's been friends for years with a lot of these people separately. Like Mark and Kimmy, she was friends with together, but she was also really good friends with Margot, who we'll get to in a second. That's Martha. I cannot wait to talk about her later. Then we have Margot. Hold on, let me get my wig out of the way to talk about Margot. She's a B-list actress who I didn't do a lot of research on the films she's been in, but I do know she was in one film called, what was it called? How to Lose Friends and Alienate People, which is a little on the nose in my opinion. Then we have Missy, who I can't remember if she's a former model or still models, but her whole thing is modeling. She's Swedish, also part Albanian, allergic to lying, also queen of the nip slip. A cutout top hates to see this woman coming. At first, her constant need to get to the bottom of things kind of annoyed me. And then I was like, I do that. Then we have Lottie, who is married to fashion designer Joshua Kane. They have a very interesting relationship, which I won't get much into just for the sake of time. She's pretty low drama, and also she's pregnant in this season. So I'll be honest, I wasn't super invested in her, but she does seem very level-headed and I do like her, don't get it twisted. Okay, then we have Emma, who, hold on, let me stop my makeup real quick to talk about Emma. Guys, Emma is an actual Disney princess. Oh my God, she is an actual Disney princess. So Emma, very interestingly, married a Marquess and is part of the family that owns the place called Longley, which I'm not British, so I didn't know what Longley is. Longley looks awesome. I want to visit. She is the first and currently only Black woman in the UK to hold an aristocratic title, which some of y'all may correct me and say it was actually Dido Elizabeth Bell who was the first Black woman in the UK to hold an aristocratic title. She was a trailblazer, don't get it twisted, but she never officially held an aristocratic title. So that's why Emma is officially recognized as the first. Her title is Marchioness of Bath. She seems very invested in the conservation efforts that Longley is pioneering, which was really touching to me because I care a lot about conservation. We all should care a lot about conservation. There's also this part like later in the season I can't even talk about because I will start crying, but like basically she talks about resurrecting the white rhino at Longley and I'm like, that's so cool. And during this season, she's currently training for a 10K in Nairobi to raise money for conservation efforts. Ooh, that color's pretty. But like I said, she's like an actual Disney princess. Someone please tell me they make Emma dolls. Someone please tell me they make Emma dolls. One quick aesthetic note I want to make on the 2 different series, the OG and the New Reign, before we dive in. Rewatching the OG seasons back to back with this one, the visual gap is huge. The original show is very like 2016 with like a lot of millennial pink, lots of black. Even like the cinematography feels a little desaturated in my opinion. But meanwhile, the New Reign is a lot punchier with like super saturated colors and like red and yellow. And then there's also like emerald green you see a lot. And I'm not necessarily saying this like it's a good thing. It's just something I'm noticing. The wealth on display looks richer. It makes you wonder whether the money got bigger or if production just got better at showcasing that sort of thing. So let me tell you, this season wastes no time. In the very first episode, Mark is holding a garden party that's kind of like the social event that kicks everything off. And at this party, there's already a rumor swirling around, mostly with Martha and Kimmy, that Dara is running an escort operation. Or specifically, they're saying she's a madam. Dara's not at this, so she's not here to defend herself. So Micah, as her best friend, is trying to dispel the rumors and say like, oh no, they're not true. But I think the ladies just like the idea of this rumor so much that they're like, no, we think she's a madam. Then after the party, Micah actually tries to tell Dara about this, like, hey, just so you know, these women are trying to start a rumor that you're a madam. I don't know why I keep laughing. I think it's the idea of like calling someone a madam is just I don't know. It sounds very whimsical for what it is. So Dara waves it off when Micah tries to warn her about this rumor later, but tension is already brewing with Micah over something so petty I laughed out loud. Apparently Micah very controversially gifted Dara a pair of walkie-talkies, pink walkie-talkies. And you can tell even in the scene when Dara gets it that she's not a fan. And apparently Dara called them cringe behind her back to Missy, who, let's remember again, Missy is allergic to lying. After the garden party, Dara hosts the dinner, and to get everyone acquainted with her Asian roots, I believe she's Chinese American, she hosts the dinner at the Ivy Asia in London. When my Asian friends want me to get acquainted with their roots, they usually take me to a place with laminated menus where there's an 85-year-old Vietnamese woman yelling at us for sitting in the wrong section. Dara, we are not the same. Also at this dinner, Dara makes a toast and she talks about how everyone at this dinner is an entrepreneur that started with nothing, which is hilariously off because, as we'll see in the captions, pretty much everyone in this room comes from wealth, like they were born into it. So they're like all Nepo babies and they all know it. And it's actually really refreshing because like they all clearly know they're Nepo babies because they all like look around when she's like talking about how they're all like entrepreneurs who started from nothing. They're all just like, it's so funny. And at this dinner, Missy, never one to sit on information, brings up the walkie-talkie comment in front of everyone. And Micah doesn't say anything, but she says in a talking head that it sounds like something Dara would say because Dara is someone who would use the word cringe. Whereas Missy, because she's like from another country, like she wouldn't say cringe. So it's like, it's clearly not Missy making it up. So Micah's very quick to believe Missy. And I mean, we all kind of do too. Like it seems pretty clear that Dara said that. But anyway, Dara denies this statement and Missy then goes, well, then you're basically calling me a liar. And instead of trying to fight this battle, Dara leaves the show. This is like episode 2. Like there's no slow burn, there's no like multi-episode arc. Like it's the fastest cast exit I've ever seen. Okay, so after the first 2 episodes, 2 things happen in succession here, and both matter a lot for what's coming. First, we get Martha's backstory, and it is a lot. She grew up affluent and then spent a lot of her youth not having a lot of money. I believe she mentioned she was without a home at one point, and then she modeled for Vivienne Westwood, married rich, and then after 10 years, walked away from that marriage with nothing. She's rebuilt since. She has, you know, a new flat, a pet magpie that she gives dirty martinis to. She has I'm not even making this up. She has a pet magpie named Hecate, which I love. I have a tattoo of Hecate on my arm. So that's why I feel like so kindred to Martha. I'm like, I see you, girl. I see you, girl. But yeah, she gives Hecate dirty martinis. I don't know if that's a good idea for a bird, but I kind of love it either way. Honestly, it's iconic, no notes. Like, does she drink it? Does she get drunk? Does this bird get drunk? But even after all of this, she is still visibly shaky. And she's in this new flat because she had a stalker outside of her old one. But yeah, that shakiness that she has, it shows up fast. She hires a contractor to do renovations on her house without like checking his credentials. Like she just gives him her keys. It's really scary. And Margot, of all people, calls this out while they're at her storage unit, kind of going through her things. And I mean, it's pretty harsh. I don't know if I would have taken that approach because she like threatens to not be friends with her over this because she like can't stand to see her do this, which like I understand, but I don't think that's what Martha needs right now. It's uncomfortable to watch, but I will say Margot's like right to be worried. Then at a winery outing that should have been like a light, cheerful day, Missy suggests everyone go around and open up about themselves. And she starts by telling everyone that her brother was pew-pewed and unalived in the streets. I hate that YouTube makes me say it that way. It sounds so stupid and unserious. I'm being very serious. It's a very sad thing. Something terrible happened to her brother. But it is kind of a time and place thing because they're all just having like a nice wine day and suddenly they're talking about this. And everyone else starts like telling their sad stories too, and it's just a lot. Like I get it. I wouldn't be super jazzed about that either. The only person who doesn't get very serious about it is Kimmy. Like she just mentions that she speaks Creole, which everyone already knew. And here's where it gets messy. On the ride home, Kimmy, who is just like deeply unserious as a person, vents to Margot, and I think it's also Micah that's in the car, about how she just felt like the whole thing was really inappropriate. And she also implies that like maybe her brother got in the wrong crowds. Like she's more explicit with it, but again, again, YouTube won't let me do it. It's a genuinely bad look, I'll say. And honestly, when I first watched this scene, I was like, I don't know if I like Kimmy. Because if someone was like talking like this about like a family member I lost, I'd be pretty pissed. And it's about to become a problem because Margot is in the car. So yeah, she's gonna repeat it. I don't even know what I'm doing right now. You know, I think my blush is good. I'm just gonna set it. So before the impending fallout, there are some like sweet moments. Lottie and her husband Joshua go shopping for a push present, which is fun. It's very sweet and low stakes, and like it's a nice little break from everything before this. Also, Emma has a moment where she really leans on Mark and she talks about this health scare she's had that she's still dealing with. I don't want to get into it because I don't want to trigger anyone medically, but she really leans on Mark for help. And it's very, very sweet to see that like Mark, who's kind of this, he has a lot of affectations, but you can tell he's a really sincere person at the end of the day because he really cares about his friends. It's also our first real glimpse into how Mark holds the group together emotionally, which I don't think is really showcased enough. So the blow up happens at Kimmy's very own party, where she's doing a lot of main character behavior, just like ogling this nude model they hire to draw. She's really inappropriate with him. And into that chaos walks Missy. Yay! And she wants to talk to Kimmy directly about the brother comment. So they go off to the corner to have a little chat ski. It gets heated fast. And then Margot inserts herself into the conversation, speaking on Missy's behalf, because why wouldn't she? And that's the moment that actually matters the most here. Like, Kimmy isn't just angry about being confronted for the insensitive comment. Like, she's mad that Margot made herself the mouthpiece for someone else's fight. That's like the seed of Kimmy's mistrust for Margot. And it's going to keep growing for the rest of the season into a big, beautiful beanstalk. So then we have two dinner parties, both alike in dignity in fair London, where I did theater in college. I have to do it every now and then. But these two dueling dinner parties tell you everything you need to know about where Margot is standing at this point. Emma hosts her own dinner party with Mark, Kimmy, and Martha. There is wine flowing. Her hosting style is just effortless. Emma's the hostess with the mostest. I can tell that. I can tell just watching her. She makes like little cakes with Aperol. Are you kidding me? I want little Aperol tea cakes. That's so much fun. Then Margot hosts her own dinner party with Micah, Missy, and Lottie. I feel bad, I'm always forgetting Lottie because she's so quiet. And at Margot's dinner party, she serves non-alcoholic wine because she doesn't drink and she never lets us forget that. And she's a little rustier with hosting, so she's a little bit frazzled, even though it's 3 people. That's okay, Margot. And also the food was already prepared by like a chef. So I'm like, oh, Margot. By the way, I know this is kind of a mean comment, but low key, Margot has, I don't remember who came up with this term. I heard another YouTuber say this. Margot has engaged woman face, which is like, it's like the facial preset you see on Hailey Bieber and Amanda from Summer House. They all have that same like I don't know if it's like they're getting the same filler pattern or what, but, or if they just naturally look that way. I mean, I can't be, it's not that mean, like they're all considered attractive people, but she has that face. You know what I mean? She has that engaged woman face, is what we call it. Anyway, at Emma's dinner party, Kimmy does not hold back about her feelings for Margot. She calls her a snake in the grass, while Mark mentions that he was talking to a mutual friend of his and Margot's. And according to this friend, Margot has completely changed since she got married. Like, now she's just materialistic and vain. Martha, being a very good friend, tries to defend Margot in her absence, but it's not a kind conversation, although in my opinion, it's not unfair either. Did I accidentally turn this wig at the wrong color? The growing consensus against Margot really boils over at what should have been a very lovely My Fair Lady themed picnic hosted by Martha. Of course, bringing people together is like her love language. Margot publicly calls Mark out for making fun of her fashion, which, to be fair, does read like really obnoxiously new money. If I can find the picture of what she's wearing at this picnic, I'll show you. It's pretty atrocious. But the way she does it, like just unprompted and in front of everyone, just reinforces the pattern that the group has already noticed. Confrontation without warning and like escalation instead of resolution. And it all just reads very bluntly as low class. Picnic ends on a nicer note though, because I believe it's here that Emma invites everyone to stay with her at Longleat, and that becomes like the end of season trip that we have to look forward to. But before the Longleat trip happens, the group takes a polo lesson, like with horses. And there's a little more Margot drama to note here before we get to the part that actually matters. Mark and Margot have another spat, this time over her picnic outfit, with some mocking over what she wore. It's very subtle, but it adds to this pattern we see about Margot that she is deeply, almost compulsively convinced that people are talking about her behind her back, which, I mean, they are. But the paranoia itself is kind of becoming its own annoying character trait. It's giving like control freak energy, you know what I mean? Like, she needs to have complete control of her perception even if she's not there. And I can't roll with people like that, because you gotta realize some things are not in your control. But honestly, none of that is the point of this episode. The point of this episode, in my opinion, I believe it's episode 7, horsing around. Let me tell you, lovely listeners and viewers, the point of this episode is Martha. So at this point, we know that Martha loves horses, and she actually used to ride all the time, but since the divorce, she hasn't been able to visit her own horse, Daphne. Daphne is being boarded by a friend of hers because she can't currently afford to take care of her herself, which I get it. Horses are freaking expensive. And even though her horse is with her friend, she hasn't visited this horse, Daphne, since the divorce because it's such a painful reminder of the life she used to have. But at this lesson, Martha gets up on one of the polo horses anyway. And I'm gonna try and say this without crying because this is a really beautiful moment. Everything shifts for Martha, and it's really nice. She's completely at ease up there in a way we haven't seen all season. And that ease she feels is what seals the deal, I think. Like, it's not seeing Daphne that cracks her open, it's remembering through a completely different horse that this part of her life is, don't cry, Kayla. This part of her life is still there and it's still hers. And it's what finally makes the notion of visiting Daphne seem possible instead of just unbearably painful. And I'm gonna really do my makeup when I talk about this part because I'm absolutely gonna cry. But the end of the episode is like, it's the sweetest little beat. Let me tell you, it's the sweetest little beat. As the lesson wraps up, Martha all but begs the instructor to let her take the horse for one more canter, and he just responds, "Of course you can," and lets her ride a little longer. Like, don't ask me if anyone fought. To me, there is only Martha. Now the group actually makes it to Longleat, settling into their cottages before meeting for tea in the orangery? I don't remember how they said it. I just wrote it in my notes. It's called the orangery. Orangery? Margot, however, is super rude, like almost immediately. They're in the orangery, which is almost like a big greenhouse. Like they say it's where like they do weddings and stuff. It's beautiful. But they have like these trays out on the counters that have like food on them, and it's clear that like it's gonna be served with the tea, so it's not time yet. Margot just takes one of the trays and brings it to her table and starts eating. And everyone is horrified, myself included. She also at one point pulls her chair away from one table to like sit at her own table. Like, it's just like childlike behavior. Small things, but they add up, you know? Then everything comes to a head that night at cocktail hour in the garden. And this is where Martha and her role as the glue that keeps everyone together is really put to the test. She goes up to Mark and Kimmy's table and practically begs Mark to squash his issues with Margot once and for all so they can just end this. The problem though is there's nothing Mark really wants to squash. Like, he doesn't dislike Margot just because of some like fixable misunderstanding. Like, he'd rather just keep his distance and just continue to roast the outfit she wore coming in, which, to be fair, it had nipple tassels attached to it. You're going to an English manor and you're wearing a top with nipple tassels. It doesn't feel right. Like, it's atrocious. It really is. And Margot, sensing she's being talked about, starts yelling across the garden at Mark to come over. He eventually does get up and then leaves. Kimmy follows to comfort him, Martha follows too, and then Margot follows them, which respectfully was the last thing anyone needed. So Margot asks Mark, like, why are you so obsessed with me? Which is like the most Mean Girls thing to say. And Mark, in what I think is one of the funniest and most devastating lines in the whole series, takes her hands and goes, "Darling, who wouldn't be obsessed with you? Look at you." It's a joke. It's clearly a joke. And it's the exact moment you realize Margot and Mark are never gonna be friends, because she does not get his sense of humor no matter how many times she insists that she does. She's also just like not funny herself, but that's a separate issue. But anyway, Margot doesn't take it as a joke. She tells him not to touch her, calls him creepy, calls him a freak, and that's it. That's what makes him leave for the night, which I don't blame you, Mark. The next day, the group leaves for excursions, and this is where the freak comment really lands. In one car, there's Mark, Kimmy, Martha, Micah, and Emma. And in this car, Mark opens up about how pointed that comment actually felt and how it sort of echoed being bullied at school for his sexuality. He's telling them plainly that he can't introduce his partner to his family because he's gay. This isn't a small thing for him to say out loud, and the way the group receives it, it's like it's quiet, it's present, there's no jokes. In the other car, Missy and Lottie, but let's be real, it's mostly Missy, are trying to explain to Margot in real time that calling someone a freak is never okay, full stop. And let me tell you, Margot be a border collie the way she's jumping through these hoops to justify her actions. She does this thing where she insists she knows it was wrong, but also doesn't seem to fully understand. I wanted someone to just say the word. Someone just say the word. It starts with H and ends with homophobic. Just say it. Just say it. She's being that. And when nobody in the car backs her up, that's when the panic attack happens. Which I'm never gonna make fun of someone for having a panic attack. It's a real thing. I think that was a real reaction in that moment, but it's like, girl, you're having this moment because you feel like you're being cornered because you're wrong. And you're not admitting to being wrong. And it's really messing with your ability to self-regulate. Like, just admit you're wrong for your sake, if nothing else. So she heads back to Longleat early. There's also this really funny part where I'm sorry, like after the panic attack, she won't stop crying. And at one point she's just like, sitting with this Wallace and Gromit statue. Like, it's like one of those benches that have statues on it. It's like a Wallace and Gromit bench because they're in Cheddar where like all the cheese is. And she's just like moaning Myrtle over here, like just sobbing. And Lottie and Missy are so uncomfortable. Like, it's actual cornered panic from being the only person who just won't admit she's wrong. She heads back to the estate early, and when the rest of the group returns to Longleat, they learn that Margot and her things are already gone from the cottage. Like, she just left Longleat. She left the whole trip. Like, she left without telling anyone, including Martha, which, I don't know, I think it's kind of mean, kind of rude. She also didn't apologize to Emma for her rudeness at the estate. It's all just like a big faux pas, in my opinion. But anyway, that night, dinner without Margot is genuinely the most pleasant meal of the whole trip. There's like easy banter, they tell ghost stories about Longleat, and no one has to walk on eggshells about the notion that someone's talking about Margot behind her back. Martha sweetly is still very worried about Margot and tries to call her, but she doesn't answer. After returning to London, Micah goes to check on Margot in person, which is very kind of her. But when Margot talks about the trip afterward, she frames herself entirely as the victim. Like, she blames Martha for defending her behind her back, which she consistently has done, while also somehow not being supportive enough to her face. Like, it's the exact same complaint she's leveled at Mark, but like the inverse. You know what I mean? Like, she gets mad at Mark for like talking shit behind her back, but then he's really nice to her in person. It's like just the flip version of that. Margot cuts Martha off entirely, which after everything Martha's just been through, and after everything Martha has tried to do for the group all season, I don't know, it just feels cruel. Like, it just lands as generally cruel. I don't know what else to say about it. And Margot and Mark do eventually sit down after Longleat to have a discussion after Micah convinces Margot to go and try and make things right. But I'll just say right now, it is barely worth dwelling on. Like, she spends the whole time calling him fake and attacking his character, which, mind you, Mark never attacked Margot's character. He only ever talked about her fashion. And eventually Mark just leaves because he's like, I'm not getting anywhere with you. I'm never gonna like you. Let's just drop it. I'm gone. And not long after, I can't remember if this is before or after that confrontation, but Micah has this live in-person etiquette lesson and everyone's supposed to be there. And Mark is in the front row with Missy, and Mark just breaks down in tears telling Missy about the whole situation. She comforts him. It's a genuinely really hard scene to watch. Like, I feel like Mark has spent the whole season holding other people together, and this is the moment we see what it's actually costing him. Before we get to the confrontation, let's discuss something a little sweeter. Ahead of a Joshua Kane fashion show that everyone plans to be in attendance of, Kimmy accompanies Missy to visit her brother's grave, and that's something Missy hasn't done since the funeral. And it's just sweet because the two started this season in open conflict about this exact subject, and now there's Kimmy showing up for Missy in a way that actually matters. They're clearly good friends at this point, and I don't know, it's a lovely turn for both of them. Then the fashion show itself. It's a genuinely lovely break from the tension. Full credit to Joshua Kane's designs, they look beautiful. This sets up the final confrontation of the show, which happens between Martha and Margot. Okay, hold on, I gotta do my lashes. When they finally sit down to talk, Martha is remarkably composed, and I think it's really beautiful that it's Martha here that draws the line. Like, the one person who spent this entire summer trying to keep this friend group together, who's known Margot for longer than anyone else outside of any of this, is the one who finally stops smoothing things over and just says enough already. She stands up for herself without matching Margot's energy, and it's really satisfying after 10 episodes of watching Margot dodge accountability. Margot does try the same playbook one more time, denying what she said, then pivoting to, well, Mark just doesn't like the way I dress, as if the entire prior conversation didn't happen. But I don't know, this time it doesn't land. The villain reveal is complete at this point in the show, and even Margot seems aware of it. They do eventually talk through it, and there is like reconciliation at the end. And then there's the real payoff. After everything, the homelessness, the marriage, the stalker, the reckless contractor, the friendship implosion with Margot, Martha is literally back on her horse for good. Not the tentative testing the water version from the polo lesson. No, she actually visits Daphne and takes her for a ride. If you remember one image from the show, you might as well make it this one. Okay, here's the final look. I love it. I love putting on glam makeup and a wig to go absolutely nowhere. I'm just gonna film more stuff after this. It's great. So that's Ladies of London, the new reign. If you want more trash TV reality deep dives like this, make sure you're subscribed, and I'd love to know in the comments, do you think Margot got the edit she deserved? Let me know what you think. Anyway, bye!